The scrutiny over a potential brokered GOP convention is escalating. One America's Cameron Kramer examines one rule that would have to be changed in order for the presidential candidate pool to expand and what it means for Donald Trump and the future of the GOP.
The race to 1,237 delegates is the focal point of election season, but something else is causing a stir, especially with John Boehner tossing out Paul Ryan's name as a potential presidential candidate. Up to this point, RNC Rule has been touted as a stopgap against this. Rule 40B stipulates that a candidate must win a majority of the delegates in at least 8 states or territories in order to be considered at the convention. But suddenly that mandate is in jeopardy. RNC Rules Committee member Curly Hogland is already clearing the way. Listen to this CNBC interview.
Right now, the rules say that you have to win at least 8 states or 8 different districts in order to be considered, and the only person who's done that so far is Donald Trump.
Well, and that's a misunderstanding. That rule actually is different than that.
Now, can a massive organization really change a rule to stop one person from succeeding? Frankly, yes, and we don't even have to look at politics for an example. College basketball banned slam dunking for 9 years due to the dominance of a UCLA player named Lou Alcindor, who would later be known as Hall of Famer Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. On the political front, Hogland followed up, saying this in the interview.
Political parties choose their nominee, not the general public.
That opinion only further gives credence to what conservative radio host Rush Limbaugh has theorized regarding the GOP elite attempting to derail Donald Trump's success.
Who runs this convention? The establishment. These guys, whoever they are. I mean, the Republican Party, they run it. They can change that rule anytime they want. They can change the rules whenever they want. There are meetings coming up that if they can't stop Trump in the primary process, they will make an effort to stop him at the convention.
Despite Limbaugh's warning, Hogland has already taken things a step further, sending a letter to each campaign about a rule change he's proposing. Instead of the 8-state majority outlined in Rule 40B, Hogland's rule would allow any candidate who earns at least 1 delegate to submit his or her name to be nominated at the national convention. Even if Hogland's rule change isn't adopted, Rule 40B itself is in jeopardy due to this clause, which is tucked away at the very end of the RNC's 2012 rulebook. Quote, upon the adoption of the report of the Convention Committee on Rules and Order of Business, rule numbers 26 through 42 shall constitute the standing rules for this convention and the temporary rules for the next convention. The word temporary is crucial. While we can't determine what will play out at the convention in July, the rulebook itself is still up for grabs. In fact, the RNC Rules Committee will meet shortly before the convention takes place in Cleveland, paving the way for potential changes to take place. 2016 candidates are still hitting the campaign trail with the assumption that they'll need majority wins in 8 states. But if Rule 40 is tweaked or abolished, we could theoretically see Paul Ryan, Mitt Romney, or previously defeated 2016 candidates as options. But Limbaugh thinks that move could be disastrous.
If that happens, then you've got utter chaos, because it will exemplify, typify exactly what has happened to the Republican Party and its base.
He's got data to back him up. GOP turnout is not only breaking records, it's shattering them. And the overwhelming majority of those voters are flocking to Trump and Ted Cruz, who both represent a stark contrast to the GOP establishment. If that establishment interferes with democracy, Republican voters may finally break away from the party for good. In the end, the GOP needed 21 pages of rules to specify how the RNC will be run. But if the party had any common sense, they'd only need to reread the first paragraph of their own preamble. Quote, ours is the party of liberty, the party of equality, of opportunity for all, and favoritism for none. If that's the case, let the American public decide the election, not a rules committee. Cameron Kramer, One America News.